You're listening to Murder Not Murdering with Erin,
And Autumn,
a true crime podcast about murder and murdering.
but we are not murderers.
Welcome back to Murder Not Murdering with Erin and
Autumn, the coolest chick in the world.
self-proclaimed even.
No, I think I
You
know
literally
someone.
just said it.
I did say it, but it wasn't from me.
But you don't believe it?
Oh no, I believe it.
Okay. Okay.
Self-confidence is really important, okay?
I mean, what's the problem with self-confidence?
Nothing.
That's what Demi Lovato said.
I agree with her. What's
No,
wrong?
she
says,
said,
what's wrong
with being confident?
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't sound right. Had to
Yep.
think about it. Then we both got it at the same time, that's
I
not what she
know.
said.
That's funny. Anyways, hey everybody. We have some severe weather going on right now. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on across the states currently with snow and extreme weather, but we're having our own extreme weather here. I know people always talk about how it rains constantly in Washington and Seattle, and it does rain a lot, but not like proper rain. Like I had somebody that described it as it drips here a lot, and that makes sense to me. We're having severe flooding and it's a little scary. Autumn and I are safe. We're fine. But there's a lot of people right now that are struggling.
Mm-hmm. It's really bad. Like roads are closed, people are evacuating their homes. It's awful.
Yeah, the emergency spaces for both people and livestock because it's happening a lot in rural areas near rivers. It's just kind of crazy right now. But like I said, don't worry about us. We're good. We both live up above, not deep in the valleys.
No, but I mean, I do have a creek that's literally next to me, like in
Yeah.
my backyard.
Yeah.
But we've been watching it and it's been okay so far.
Well, and luckily we had a break from the rain today too, so that was helpful.
Not here.
Oh, well,
It's
I
been
had a break in the
raining.
rain today.
Yeah, it's been raining in the entire day.
Yeah, Autumn lives north, about an
Yes.
hour and a half north of where I live. Just for perspective. I live in Seattle. So we've got some cases for you today, but we have a little announcement because we are going to be taking a break. Don't worry, not for long. We will be back in the new year. So we're just taking a small hiatus for 2 weeks, and I'm sure you can all manage that.
Right. Just go back and listen and catch up on all the other episodes. We just want to really spend time with our family, and researching and writing takes a lot out of us. And it's hard to coordinate our schedules sometimes. So we just want to make sure that we're consistent and not telling you we're going to come out with a podcast and then not. So we just want to have a break for just the little bit of the holiday.
And it'll be nice. It'll give us some time to get some writing done and get things set up so that we're all set for the new year. We also have, I don't know if you know this, Autumn, but we've recorded 40 episodes this season.
That's awesome.
So we've been pretty consistent, minus a few hiccups, but overall we've been pretty consistent coming at you on Mondays. And we'll be doing the same thing when we come back. We will be back every week on Mondays, dropping new episodes for you all. And, like I said in a previous episode, people keep killing each other. So there's no shortage.
Yeah, there's no shortage of crimes.
But I think we both have holiday-centric cases this week.
Yes, we do.
I do. And I'm pretty sure you do.
I told you. I said
Yeah.
mine's Christmas space. And then you asked me, was it in 1985? And I said,
Because
no.
because I want to make sure we're not doing the same one.
Although I was going to do one that was in 1985. So I was like, oh, shoot, I wonder if she's doing the one I was going to do. So I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Good. And it's local.
Ooh.
Yeah. So without further ado, I will go ahead and start because I'm going first this week.
Go for it.
All right. I am doing the Christmas Tree Farm Murders, the case of Ed and Minnie Maurin. It's that time of year, the time when the air smells like pine needles, cinnamon, and stress, the holidays. But today, we're going to a Christmas tree farm in Ethel, Washington, in Lewis County near Chehalis. Instead of warmth, cheer, and a holiday spirit, we're stepping into a cold case that chilled a community for almost 3 decades. This is the story of Ed and Minnie Maurin, married 58 years. Deeply loved, deeply embedded in their community, and then just before Christmas, gone, disappeared. And the question everyone asked was, who would hurt the Maurins? Who would do that at Christmas? Let's take a walk down a snowy path lined with Christmas trees and secrets. Ed and Minnie Maurin lived on a 120-acre Christmas tree farm. Let me repeat that. A Christmas tree farm. These two were basically Mr. and Mrs. Claus without the reindeer. They were in their 80s, but you would never know it. People described them as active, spry, always helping someone, kind, generous, quiet, reliable. You couldn't find 2 better people. Minnie held church luncheons in her home. Ed still drove into town every day to chat with friends or pick up supplies. Christmas on the Maurin farm was supposed to be peaceful, sparkly, wholesome. But on December 19th, 1985, something was off. Very off. That morning, Minnie was supposed to host her church group for a holiday luncheon. Think casseroles, sweaters, prayer circles. But then when the women arrived, they found a locked house. Curtains were drawn. The lights were off. No sign of Ed and Minnie. One attendee later said, Minnie never missed her luncheons. Something was wrong, and we knew it. The family contacted the police, and they arrived the same evening. Inside, they found what they called a staged normal day, except nothing was normal. Minnie's purse was found hidden behind a couch with newspapers thrown on top of it. Ed's watch, the one he always wore, was left on the dresser. And bank statements were scattered all around the bathroom. Not a place you would normally keep bank statements.
No.
And the Maurin's Chrysler sedan, it was missing. Detectives knew right away this wasn't a we went on a surprise vacation situation. The family knew something was extremely wrong. Something had happened, and it wasn't good. But they didn't have much to go on. So they put out an APB on their vehicle. The next day, December 20th, police got a call. A car matching the Maurin's Chrysler was spotted in a parking lot. The license plate matched. Initially, they hoped that maybe their car had broken down. But inside the car, they find a blanket on the front seat, soaked in blood. Spent shotgun shells on the floor, a hat that didn't belong to either of them, and blood splatter on the seats and across the doors.
I don't like that.
No, there was also a broken windshield. Then detectives find the keys in the ignition, and they walk to the trunk. Worried, they're going to find the Maurins in there. But the trunk was empty. One investigator said, it's obvious the couple had been shot in that car. But where were they? And could they have possibly survived this? Then came the detail that made everyone's stomach drop. The bank had reported that Ed had come in and withdrawn $8,500 in cash the morning they disappeared. A teller later said he looked nervous. He said it was for a relative to buy a car, but it just didn't sound right. The family confirmed no one was buying a car. So, who forced them to withdraw that money? At this point, there weren't any fingerprints found in the car and none at the house. The bank was a good lead, but that's all they had. The town stood still. Families, friends, investigators had been leading searches tirelessly to try to find the elderly couple. 4 days pass. Then Christmas Eve, a man was driving on a logging road and saw something in a ditch. He thought it was a mannequin. And listen, if I've learned anything from this podcast, it's that
Never a mannequin.
it's never a mannequin on a deserted road, my dears.
I mean, honestly, let's be real. It's never a mannequin in general. Like, people aren't just tossing mannequins out in the fields and stuff. It's crazy that people even are like, oh, I think it's a mannequin. No,
No,
honey, it's never a mannequin.
it sure isn't. So, upon further inspection, it was the body of a woman. And it was Minnie. Nearby, they find a pool of blood, false teeth, and glasses. And then they find Ed. Both were shot at close range with a shotgun in the neck from the back. It had been clear that they were dragged from the car by their clothes and the amount of dirt that was on them. They were left in a cold ditch. And sadly, the family did have to come in to identify the bodies. One officer later recalled, "It ruined Christmas for everyone that year, and every year after that." Police had witnesses, sort of. Conflicting reports, lots of fear, thousands of tips poured in. Some people saw the Maurins' car with another man inside in the back seat, a white male with brownish hair and a beard. Others saw two men walking from the direction of the farm that morning. Police put a sketch on the news. Some folks thought that the person looked like their grandson, Mikey. He was pretty closely matched to the sketch. He was known to have a little bit of a past, and he had been in trouble for stealing from his own father at one point. But he took a polygraph and he passed with no issues. They accounted for his whereabouts and he was cleared. In the meantime, they also had the rest of the family take a polygraph, just to be sure. Remember, Ethel was a small community, and one neighbor said, "You didn't cross certain people in this county. You just didn't." But fear makes people quiet, and silence can kill an investigation. And just like that, days become months, months become years, and years become decades. Christmas came and went 27 times before this case would really crack. But at this point, a decade goes by, and detectives comb over the evidence again. They look into contacting Robin Rife, the wife of a man known to police. His name was Ricky Rife, and his brother Greg were known as the local drug dealers, kind of scary characters in the community. They were violent, and folks were frightened of them. No one had seen them, though, since 1987 when they moved to Alaska. At this point, they locate Robin in a prison in Arizona. She's there for drug charges. When they talk to her, she immediately says, "Is this about the old people?" She claims that she had nothing to do with it, and all she did was drop them off at the house. She also said that she picked them up near the crime scene. Now they have two suspects, but unfortunately, the prosecutor doesn't feel like Robin is enough of a credible witness to move forward, so the case stalls again. But the police keep in touch with her. In 1995, Robin Rife passes away, throwing another wrench in the chain of information. 13 more years go by. Then by the early 2000s, the case files were old enough to order a cocktail at a bar. But then, Detective Bruce Kimsley picks up the case after the original investigator had retired. He didn't buy the narrative that there wasn't enough evidence. He colorized old photos. He re-interviewed witnesses. He knocked on doors that had been shut for decades, and suddenly, people began talking. And that And that interview with Robin Rife from the past brought up a name that they never looked into, Les George, who admitted that while driving past the Maurins' house, he told the brothers if they needed money, they should look there because they did really well with their Christmas tree farm. Then he recalled that one of the brothers offered to saw off a shotgun for him. He was a truck driver and he wanted it for protection. But then he said it was hard to get his gun back from Rick. He told investigators he only got it back after the homicides. He had a bad feeling that it may have been used to commit these murders. But then he put it away in a closet until his father threw it away in a lake. He was scared of the brothers, and that's why he didn't come forward before. Unfortunately, the police were never able to recover the gun. As one woman put it had been long enough, and we weren't scared anymore. All leads point to two brothers. Investigators are sure that they killed Minnie and Ed. Locals describe the men as mean, scary, drug users, people you avoided. Then in 2012, a miracle in the cold case world. A witness came forward who had been too afraid to speak back then. And his story changed everything. James Shriver, a friend of the Maurins, said he had been driving into town on December 19th, 1985. He saw the Maurins' Chrysler. Ed was behind the wheel. Minnie was in the back seat. And there were two men. Men Shriver recognized. Men locals feared. Shriver said, "I waved at Ed, but he didn't wave back. He looked terrified." Behind him in the back seat was one brother, and the other was in the front seat, watching, holding something long wrapped in a cloth, possibly a gun. Shriver had been too scared to talk for decades. The brothers had gone to his house and threatened him. They told him if he ever talked, they were going to kill his entire family. At age 17, he was not strong enough to speak out. And at this point, he knew they had already killed. He later said, if anyone tells you they weren't afraid of them, they were lying. Time passed, and now he was ready. His testimony helped detectives build the final puzzle. He harbors a lot of remorse for keeping it quiet for so long. And there's a lot of guilt. He cried in interviews talking about it. It's clearly something that was really tough for him, but he truly believed his family was going to be killed. So now it's 2012. Police are ready. They have leads. They have a witness. Except there's one problem. They go to look for the brothers and find that one had already died, Greg Rife, literally 1 week before the arrest warrant was issued. But the other brother, Ricky Rife, was alive and living in Alaska. They arrested him. He denies any involvement. They charge him, bring him back to Washington. And then at trial in November 2013, prosecutors laid it out. The forced bank withdrawal, all the blood in the car, witnesses placing the brothers with the Maurins, decades of whispered fear in the community. One prosecutor said, the case didn't lack evidence, it lacked courage. And now, finally, people have it. After 28 years, the jury convicted Rick Rife. 2 counts of murder, robbery, burglary, and kidnapping. He was sentenced to 103 years. Justice, though very delayed, was still justice and closure for the family and the detectives who had dedicated their lives to solving these horrific murders. For the Maurin family and the community in Ethel, Washington, Christmas was changed forever. One granddaughter said, "We stopped celebrating Christmas the same way. How could we?" A neighbor said, "Their farm used to feel magical at that time of year. After the murders, it just felt empty." But the community also found strength, courage, solidarity. In the lesson, you can bury evidence, you can bury fear, but you can't bury the truth forever. As we head into our own holiday season with lights, cookies, and chaotic family dinners, remember to hold your loved ones close. My sources were The Oxygen episode of Homicide for the Holidays, 2 elderly Christmas tree farmers murdered just days before Christmas. The Daily Chronicle archives, Washington Court of Appeals filings, State v. Rife, dailycrime.com, Cairo 7 News, and the Lewis County Sheriff's Office case notes.
That was really sad.
I know.
Actually, I hadn't ever heard of that one either.
I hadn't either. It just came up in my research and I was like, "Oh, perfect. Washington, Christmas trees." And then when I got to it, it's pretty brutal. And that episode, no, everyone cries. Like when they announced that he was convicted, the lead investigator who had taken over for a decade immediately started weeping. This really affected their community, and they only had in their entire town 4 detectives. That's it. Like they don't have it's a very tiny little town. So, it ran deep that this had happened, and everyone talks about how it's like such a Christmassy place and, a tight-knit community. So it affected them even now.
It's really, really heartbreaking.
I know. Merry Christmas.
Mine's worse.
Oh, good.
I also was shocked that your case was so small. It was not very long.
I know. I didn't do a long one this time. I'm trying to tailor it down just a little bit.
I mean, I was only teasing you about how long they were. I like your stories.
Well, they do get a little bit long-winded.
Sometimes, but most of the time I have really short ones. So
I know.
it evens out.
Yeah. Well, that was my case. I know it's really sad, but I also think that people need to remember Ed and
Yeah.
Minnie and
They
and
seemed
how
like such wonderful people.
and also how a murder like that doesn't just stop at the victims. It doesn't stop at the families. It goes on to the community. There's not a Christmas that goes by for those people that lived in that town that they don't think of the Maurins at Christmas
Mhm.
time. And that's just it's so sad and it's really heartbreaking.
It is like very, very sad. Ready, Freddie?
Ready.
This is an awful story, but also very on brand. So here we go. This is the Covina Christmas Massacre. Christmas Eve in Southern California has always held its own kind of quiet magic. The air is cool enough to make the night feel crisp, but still gentle compared to the harsh winters found elsewhere. Families spill into the driveways with gifts tucked under their arms. Porch lights glow with festive colors, and laughter drifts out of open windows in soft, warm currents. In Covina, a peaceful suburb just east of Los Angeles, many homes looked the same that night. Decorated, welcoming, full of anticipation for Christmas morning. Inside one particular home on East Knollcrest Drive, the Ortega family was gathered for their annual Christmas Eve celebration. This was a cherished tradition, one anchored by familiarity and comfort, where relatives arrived with food and presents, where children darted between rooms, shaking boxes and whispering their guesses, and where the adults eased into the evening surrounded by the people they loved most. It was the kind of night that should have remained untouched, a moment suspended in warmth. But somewhere else in Southern California, on that very same night, a man dressed in a Santa Claus suit was loading his car with objects that had nothing to do with holiday joy. As the Ortega family leaned into the festive glow of Christmas Eve, a quiet and calculated darkness was making its way toward their home. And by the end of the night, a tragedy would unfold so devastating, so entirely at odds with the season, that it became one of the most haunting crimes in modern California history. This is the story of the Covina Christmas Massacre of 2008. A story of family, heartbreak, long building resentment, and a chilling descent into violence. Before the night turned to nightmare, the Ortega home was full of life and sound, a noisy, layered kind of joy that large families can create. Joseph and Alicia Ortega, the family's beloved matriarch and patriarch, had raised a tight-knit group of children who all grew into adulthood carrying the same traditions forward. Their Christmas Eve parties were known for being lively, warm, and full of generosity. The kind of gatherings where people brought extra food just in case a neighbor stopped by, and where the real gift was simply being together. Their children, Letitia, James, Charles, Alicia Jr., Sylvia, and others, arrived every year with their spouses, kids, and friends. As the grandchildren grew older, they joined in with the same enthusiasm, knowing that holiday memories were often shaped by the atmosphere inside the house. And in 2008, despite the stressors that had touched some family members that year, the Ortega Christmas Eve celebration carried on with the same comforting rhythm. One of those family members was Sylvia Ortega, who had undergone a challenging and painful divorce earlier in the year. But here, inside her parents' home, she was embraced with tenderness. The people around her knew she had been through more than she deserved, and they wanted the evening to feel like a safe harbor, free from tension, free from reminders of the past, and free from the man she had once been married to. In that moment, surrounded by family and familiar voices and holiday decorations, Sylvia believed she had finally found her peace again. She could not have known that her ex-husband was already on his way. Bruce Jeffrey Pardo had once appeared to be the kind of man people expected to land on his feet. He held a well-paying job as an engineer, he owned a home, and he had the financial stability that many would envy. But behind that image was someone who struggled deeply when life veered off the path he believed he was entitled to walk. His marriage to Sylvia had been troubled from early on. Mismatched expectations, financial disagreements, emotional disconnects. But after their divorce was finalized, something in Pardo hardened. Nearly everything in his life seemed to unravel in the months that followed. His employment ended under circumstances he downplayed. His financial situation became strained, and his resentment began to crystallize into a belief that he had been wronged, betrayed, and stripped of a life he felt he deserved. At some point, that resentment transformed into something far darker. An obsession, fixations. He was fixated on revenge. In the weeks leading up to Christmas Eve, Pardo made a series of purchases and preparations that were alarming in their level of premeditation. He acquired a custom-made Santa suit. Custom-made Santa suit.
It's pretty intense.
Intense, right?
Even for me as somebody who loves costuming.
Yes. This was custom made to fit him like a glove.
Weird.
Very, very, very weird. He assembled a homemade incendiary device disguised as a gift-wrapped present and armed himself with multiple weapons. He told no one what he had planned. There was no outburst, no warning, no confession to friends about the depth of his anger. Instead, he moved through his days with a chilling calmness, planning an attack on the people he believed had taken everything from him. By the time Christmas Eve arrived, the transformation was complete. Whatever Bruce Pardo had once been, husband, engineer, neighbor, he had shed all of it. All that remained was a man who had decided that the Ortega family's holiday joy had to end. While the Ortega family opened their gifts, shared food, and passed children from lap to lap, Pardo was preparing his final steps. He loaded his rental car with a duffel bag of weapons and the wrapped package containing his incendiary device. He adjusted the Santa suit he had obsessively altered to fit his frame, making it look convincing and harmless in the way people expect Santa Claus to be. And at some point between 10 and 11 p.m., he began the drive toward Covina. Inside the Ortega home, the night was still vibrant and full. Children were playing with their new toys. Some adults were lingering near the kitchen island, talking about the past year, while others gathered around the table, enjoying the dessert that seemed to multiply with every guest arriving. There was warmth in every corner of that home, the kind of steady, glowing warmth that becomes a living character during the holidays. But outside, as Pardo's car approached the quiet suburban streets, the night air shifted. The sight of a Santa suit on Christmas Eve usually brings comfort, but on this night, it signaled something entirely different, something none of them could have prepared for. Shortly after 11:30 p.m., as the family continued their celebration, there was a knock at the front door. A simple, familiar sound. Some of the children reportedly ran toward it, excited at the sight of Santa Claus standing on the porch.
This is so sick, Autumn.
I agree. It was Christmas Eve, after all. What else would Santa be doing but visiting homes? I mean, can you even?
No, I literally can't.
But in an instant, everything changed. What happened inside that home unfolded shockingly fast. When Pardo stepped across the threshold, any illusion of innocence dissolved. The children, the parents, the siblings, all were caught between the warmth of their family celebration and the sudden reality of a man who had come with the deliberate intent to destroy everything inside. The chaos spread through the home in moments. People tried desperately to move their loved ones out of danger, scrambling through hallways, trying to shield children, searching for any possible exit. The holiday decorations, the carefully wrapped gifts, the faint echo of music, everything was overtaken by panic. The house, which had been a place of safety and tradition for so many years, became a scene of unimaginable fear. The moment that changed everything came when Pardo set off the device he had brought with him, a homemade incendiary device that ignited with terrifying speed. Flames erupted, smoke thickened, and a place that had moments earlier been filled with warmth was consumed by fire. Survivors would later describe escaping only because they had broken windows, fled into the night, or crawled through the thick smoke to find a path outside. Many never made it out. The house that held the decades of Christmas memories was now engulfed in flames. By the time firefighters and police arrived, the Ortega home was nearly consumed by fire. The heat was so intense that responders could not immediately enter the structure, and the thick smoke rising from the roof cast a dark plume into the sky. Neighbors watched from their driveways, horrified and unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The sounds of cracking wood, the hiss of flames, and the distant echo of Christmas music from nearby houses created a surreal mixture of normalcy and disaster. It took hours before investigators were able to safely enter the home. And when they did, the scale of the tragedy became heartbreakingly clear. 9 members of the Ortega family had lost their lives.
Oh my God.
Parents, children, siblings, spouses, entire branches of the family tree were gone in a single night. And the home itself, once a symbol of unity and tradition, was reduced to charred remains. The Ortega family was large in number, but even larger in heart. And the people gathered inside that Covina home on Christmas Eve were so much more than victims of a senseless act. They were the center of a vibrant, tight-knit family that believed in showing up for each other. They worked hard, they loved deeply, and they had spent years building traditions that made the holidays feel like an anchor, a reminder that no matter what had happened during the year, this night was for togetherness. A total of 9 family members perished that night. Joseph, Papa Joe Ortega, 80, and Alicia, Mama Alice Ortega, 70, were the pillars of the family. Joe was known for his steady presence and an old-fashioned work ethic, a man who built his life around his children and grandchildren. Alicia was warm, sharp, and nurturing, the kind of grandmother who made everyone feel like they belonged. They had been married for decades, the kind of partnership that family members described as unshakable. The Christmas Eve gathering existed because of them. It was their home, their tradition, their love that held everyone together. Their daughters were there that night too. Women described as loving, hardworking, and inseparable. Sylvia Ortega, 43, was a mother of 3 and someone her family described as resilient and grounded. She was in the middle of rebuilding her life after the difficult divorce, leaning heavily on her parents and siblings for emotional support. They were her safe space. She worked at a flower shop and was known to her customers as kind and patient, someone who remembered faces and made people feel welcome. Her sister, Alicia Ortega Ortiz, 46, was the kind of person who made family events run seamlessly. She was organized, dependable, and always the one to quietly take care of the details no one else thought of. She had a warm sense of humor and was the glue in her own immediate family, just as her mother was to the larger group. Another sister, Teresa Ortega, 52, was a mother and a beloved aunt who filled the house with laughter. She had a way of making ordinary moments feel special, an unteachable talent for bringing levity to difficult times and warmth to quiet ones. Their brother James Jimmy Ortega, 51, was known for his generosity, someone who would show up, no questions asked, whenever a family member needed help. He worked hard, cared deeply, and started the Ortega habit of putting others first. Charles Chica Ortega, 50, was a father and a committed family man who had built a reputation for being steady and dependable. He was the kind of person who never wanted to see anyone struggle and always offered a hand before being asked. Sherry Lynn Ortega, 45, known for her kindness and soft-spoken nature, was married to James. Friends described her as gentle and thoughtful, someone who loved holiday traditions and who saw Christmas as a time to reconnect and regroup. Michael Andre Ortiz, age 17, a young man who hadn't lived a full life and had so much ahead of him still. And every obituary, every tribute, every recollection from friends, coworkers, neighbors, and surviving family, the same sentiment appears again and again. This was a good family, hardworking, close, joyful, and deeply devoted to each other. And that's why the loss felt so devastating, so unnatural, so unthinkable. The names weren't just names. They were parents, siblings, partners, aunts, uncles, neighbors, and friends. They were people who expected Christmas Eve to be what it always had been: a night of food, music, laughter, children running between rooms, and the comforting sense that the entire family was present, safe, and together. Their memory is not defined by what happened to them, but by the love they lived in, the bonds they built, and the legacy their surviving families continues to honor every year. As the community learned the extent of the losses, a sense of mourning spread far beyond Covina. People across the country were stunned by the cruelty and timing of the attack. The idea that a man dressed as Santa Claus could commit such violence during a family's Christmas Eve gathering felt almost too horrific to process. But for the survivors, the reality was immediate and inescapable. After leaving the burning home, Pardo drove to his brother's house in Silmar. His plan had included fleeing the country. He had purchased a plane ticket to Canada, packed supplies, and prepared a getaway.
God, he really planned everything out,
Everything.
down to the custom suit.
Yes. But something unexpected had happened during the attack. The incendiary device had ignited with far more force than he anticipated, causing severe burns to his hands and arms. In the early hours of Christmas morning, badly injured and no longer able to follow through with his escape plan, Pardo took his own life inside his brother's home. When authorities discovered his body hours later, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place.
That is so frustrating to me.
I agree. Like, he just blew up this family's life, quite literally, and then ends his. Like, why couldn't you have just done it in a different order?
Yeah, why drag this
Why-
whole situation? Ugh.
It's absolutely disgusting. The weapons, the suit, the burns, everything pointed to the horrifying conclusion that he had been the sole perpetrator of the Covina Christmas Eve massacre. In the car he left behind, investigators found thousands of dollars, maps, additional ammunition, and evidence of an escape plan that would never be carried out. The level of planning shocked even seasoned detectives. In the days that followed, the city of Covina recoiled in grief. A vigil was held. Community members brought flowers and candles. People had known the Ortega family for decades, struggled to comprehend how such violence could touch a family so full of life, generosity, and steadfast love. Survivors recounted the terrifying moments of the attack, while investigators traced Pardo's meticulous preparations and the quiet spiral that had led him to commit such irreversible harm. The story dominated national news, not only because of the scale of the tragedy, but because of the deep contrast between the imagery of Christmas Eve and the reality of the crime. It became a case synonymous with senselessness, the kind of tragedy that leaves more questions than answers, particularly the question of why an entire family had to pay the price for one man's anger and bitterness. Over time, the surviving Ortega family members showed a resilience that both heartbreaking and inspiring. Their grief was unimaginable, but they found ways to honor their loved ones through community events, memorials, and the shared belief that the family's legacy would not be defined by the violence inflicted upon them, but the love they had always shown one another. The Covina Christmas Massacre remains one of the most devastating crimes in recent memory, not only because of its brutality, but because it violated something sacred, the sanctity of family, tradition, and the peace we hope to find during the holidays. The imagery of Christmas Eve, with its soft lights and quiet rituals, stands in stark contrast to the horror that unfolded inside the Ortega home. And yet, in the midst of this darkness, the strength of the surviving family members and the compassion of the community offer a subtle, persistent reminder that even the most devastating acts cannot completely extinguish the love that once filled that home. When people remember the Ortega family today, they speak of their generosity, their closeness, and the way their family's Christmas Eve traditions brought joy to everyone who walked through their doors. And perhaps that is part that should never be forgotten, because even in tragedy, light still finds a way to be seen, sometimes softly, quietly, in the memories left behind. May the Ortega family be remembered for the love they shared, and may their story encourage us to hold our own loved ones a little closer during this season of reflection. My sources were Wikipedia, the Los Angeles Times, ABC7 News, Murderpedia, True Crime Society, and The Guardian.
That was sad too. We both had families.
Isn't that just so, devastating to think about? This
Yes,
man was so caught up with his bitterness from the divorce that he quite literally burned this family to the ground.
that's horrific. You know what's so crazy to me is that so often in my research, at least for like Christmas time or holiday time murders, there is a lot of families and massacres and
Mhm.
groups of people. I think,
Groups of people.
people are gathering, so that makes sense. That part adds up. But, it's just to me, it's like you said on your case, especially like it's senseless. And then he goes off and kills himself, which
Mhm.
is frustrating because there's not closure or justice, really. He
Right,
didn't have to be held accountable for what he
exactly.
did.
He got to go out the way he wanted to go out,
Everything on his terms.
on his terms, and that's what's frustrating.
It is frustrating, but I'm glad that the family, the remaining family, were still able to be tight-knit and close,
Mhm.
and like I was saying at the end of my case, like, this affects the entire community and all the people intertwined in all these people's lives, it's just horrific, and, with the younger people too and losing matriarchs and it changes these people's holiday season and how they celebrate, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a celebration, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Just terrible.
It's I can't even imagine because it's just such a comforting time and relaxing time, and you just gonna be with your family and just be in just, pure bliss, and it's not about the gifts, it's about the time being spent, and obviously, it's about the food. I freaking love food. So,
Do
I love all the, appetizers and the desserts and the food and sharing
you guys
everyone's
do a
favorite
ham?
dishes.
We
No.
do ha Oh, we always do a ham.
I said it
Yeah.
all grossed out. That
Yeah,
was
you
rude of me.
did.
I'm not a
Ruh.
huge ham fan.
Oh, well, we
I
all
don't
know you
really
love
like ham.
turkey.
Yes,
You're a
I
turkey
love
girl.
turkey, but I do not like ham very much. We usually do, because my family has always been this way. We usually do a prime rib.
Mhm.
Um, but this year, since Dustin did such an amazing job on the turkey for Thanksgiving, everyone has requested a turkey again. So we will be
Oh,
having turkey for Christmas instead of a
you
prime rib,
must
which
be
is,
happy about that.
I am happy about that.
I love that you said
Sometimes,
everybody, but was it just you?
no, truthfully, it was everyone.
Yeah.
But Dustin makes the prime rib, and then we make like a small turkey breast or something and I usually have yes, I usually have that, but everyone I mean, you and I are kind of similar. We're not big meat eaters. Like, I
Yeah.
don't eat a lot of meat. I prefer like salmon and fish and turkey and chicken. I'm that's my like I like pork chops a lot actually too, but I'm not a real big meat eater. I'll eat a steak every once in a while. Like I do like a good steak, but I'm
Yeah.
not really into like I'm not into ground beef. You have your reasons and we won't get into it,
Yeah, we
but
won't get in.
I have
I have
m-
trauma, so
mine
yeah.
is because I am traumatized from the video that we saw in middle school of freaking mad cow disease, and ever since that happened, I've really never been able to eat ground beef afterward ever since that day.
Really?
It is like like, it was just that triggered me, and I've just been like, I'll eat it on occasion, but it's so rare, and that's because they were like, "Yeah, the ground beef is where the mad cow disease lives. Cuts of steak and stuff like that are fine." So I literally avoided ground beef for all these years because of that. And
Wow.
the weird thing is that I have met several other people who saw the same video and do not eat it either because of it.
That's funny. I don't have my I grew up with cows, so and I have like a horrific traumatic story of the reason why I don't eat beef now, but we had a pet cow and that's all I'm going to say about that. It could damn near be my own true crime story to be honest, but this yeah, I don't eat beef. I eat other red meat, like I'm fine with lamb or duck or other
I
things
would
like that.
never eat any of that.
Yeah, I'm adventurous in my food always.
My
Um,
brother loves lamb, like loves lamb.
yeah,
And last year for Christmas Eve, they made lamb for everyone because we usually
yeah,
go to his house for Christmas Eve, and they were very sweet. They made me chicken
that's nice.
because they
I'm
knew I wouldn't eat it.
I'm just a really adventurous eater. I always like to just try something new or I think as being Pacific Northwest people, seafood is
I'll eat any
ultra
seafood.
important.
Yeah, I'll eat
The
any
most
seafood.
important. I'll eat it
But
any which way too.
I'm I dip my toe in a little bit on other things, but truly not very often. And I like I feel like I'm adventurous, and that's only because Dustin is the most picky human on the planet I have ever met
Yeah.
and ever came encounter with. So I feel like I'm adventurous, and then I come around people like you, and I'm like, shit, I am definitely not adventurous because I won't eat that. I won't touch that. Goat milk, goat cheese. Don't even tell me
Oh,
about it. I don't
goat
want to
cheese is
freaking.
delicious. You're
I
out of your
want
mind.
my brother would say the same thing. My mom is on my side. I cannot, will not, do not, will never will have goat. Nope,
Well,
nope, nope.
well, you're missing out.
That's
I
what
think
I have tried it and it was tangy and repulsive. And I was like, this is not me. But I also don't really care for cheese all that much. I'm a
oh, I am
cheddar and
obsessed.
mozzarella girl. But
Oh, the
other than
boring
that,
ones.
I know, like, I like, literally, cheese is never but that's because I have a severe reaction to cheese, dairy of any kind. I
Yeah.
mean, I was on soy formula since I was a little girl. Like, my mom said it was like The Exorcist if I had regular milk. So I don't
Yeah.
think I ever developed that, like,
Taste for it.
taste for it because I avoided it at all costs. This was before we had like lactose-free milk and
Yeah.
lactose-free cheese or like even lactate tablets. None of that was a thing when we were growing up. So I just avoided it because it made me severely ill.
Yeah. Well, cheese is life for me. I love cheeses.
She will
Um,
eat cheese and I will eat ice cream.
yeah.
I'll suffer to eat ice cream.
People get mad. I don't like ice cream
She doesn't really like dessert.
or
Or
chocolates.
chocolate, and that is
No.
the weirdest thing to me. Chocolate is my
Well,
kryptonite.
it's very obvious. I like savory and you like sweet. That's different.
Sweets, so much sweet. Give me
Yeah.
all the sweets.
Any other holiday things coming up that you're excited about?
Just that it's Sebastian's first Christmas.
Yeah, Autumn's grandchild.
I'm so excited. He's so cute, I can't handle it.
Yeah. it'll be nice to see family. I am having a little bit of a bittersweet one. Today is my dad's birthday, so it's my first Christmas without him. Um, and it's bringing up a lot of feels, a lot of feelings, a lot of memories of things because I would always spend Christmas Day with him. But, one of the things that we really love to do is go to the movies on Christmas Day. It's always been a really fun thing, a tradition that I like to do with Lucy every once in a while. So I like that. And, holidays isn't always a time of warmth and happiness for everybody. So I just want to say for all of our listeners, for those that do celebrate the holidays, we want to wish you a happy holiday season. And if, whichever way you celebrate. And if you don't, that's okay too. Spend time with your friends, check in on your friends, that may be having a harder time going through this period. And know that we so appreciate all of our listeners. And like I said, we will be back in January at the beginning of the year. And if you haven't listened to all of our episodes, this is a great opportunity to go back into the archives and check out
Catch
a
up.
bunch of the old ones.
Yes.
We've done a lot of episodes at this point, so it's pretty exciting. I think we're nearing that 100 mark, getting closer and closer to it. 100 episodes. So do go back, check out the archives. Don't forget to DM us on Instagram if there are cases that you are interested in or ones you'd like us to cover or elaborate on, or maybe you have a personal tie to that you are not the murderer, obvi. But anyway, please reach out to us because we really appreciate that. I know Autumn had Amanda from last week that reached
Uh-huh.
out and we covered a case for. So, like I said, slide into our DMs and we'll be back again. We'll do the traditional sort of dad joke and say see you next year.
See you next year.
Bye everybody.
Bye.